Most of you watching this might not think you're a perfectionist, but you probably are one. Almost every single client I've ever worked with has said the same thing. And you probably say you're not one because you have an idea in your head of what a perfectionist looks like. You see someone who's rigid and uptight, someone who color codes everything or is always neat and always on top of their to-do list. But that's not how you behave, so you distance yourself from it. But perfectionism is not a personality aesthetic, and you often can't actually tell who's a perfectionist just by looking at them. Perfectionism lives deeper than that. It's a belief system quietly shaping how you think, how you work, how you relate to people and make decisions. But society's stereotypical idea of it blocks your understanding of this. So if you're anything like me, you might have spent years rejecting perfectionism without realizing how deeply it was running your life. So in this video, I'm going to show you why you're probably a perfectionist, especially if your life looks nothing like the stereotype, and how understanding that can finally change things for the better. To do that, I want to start with a story from my own life. So when I was about 5, my mum briefly sent me to something called Saturday School, which was basically a community-run weekend school that many British Nigerian parents sent their children to. And this was designed to supplement the mainstream education we were getting so that we could excel. In one of these Saturday school classes, I was struggling with a maths exercise. And so the teacher asked only me to stay behind during the break so that we could go over what I didn't understand. For some reason, he posed it to me as an option. He said, do you want to stay behind and understand it properly or go out and play with the others? Which, let's be honest, it's a bit silly, I know, to ask a 5-year-old that question. Of course, they're going to want to go outside and play. But for me, the answer wasn't just, I'm a child, so I'd much rather play. It was also about the fact that I could already sense he was disappointed in me. Plus, he didn't give me much confidence that I could get it. And I also didn't have much confidence in myself either, that the extra time would help. These factors meant that the idea of staying behind was the same as hearing, do you want to create more opportunities to feel like you're not good enough in front of an adult who's already disappointed in you? And on some level, I already believed that how well I did at school was a reflection of who I was as a child. At that age, I already had a sense of, if I get this question wrong, what will that say about me? So instead of thinking, okay, I'm struggling, let me get the help, I thought, let me just escape the feeling. So I went outside to play instead, not just because I was 5, but because I didn't want to sit in the discomfort of not getting it any longer than I had to. I didn't have language for any of that at the time. I just thought, oh, I don't like maths. And later, I'm just bad with numbers. But that wasn't the case. And that response started to become paralysis, which turned into avoidance. As I got older into my teens, I was able to manage some of that paralysis by swinging in the other direction. I used my high standards to push me instead of them completely shutting me down. So I would move forward past the paralysis and avoidance. But in exchange, I had to pay attention to every single detail. Every I had to be dotted, every T crossed. This over-attention to insignificant details meant I started struggling with juggling too many things at once because I would spend all that time on elements that didn't matter, which in turn caused me a great deal of inner anxiety, none of which was detectable on the outside, by the way. By the time I was 15, I started to manage to break through that anxiety more frequently and get into a state of flow and do really great work. But other times, especially if it was something I didn't believe I was good at, I'd still avoid, delay, overthink, and then deliver the very last minute, stressed out and frustrated with myself. By the time I was 18, I'd done really well academically, but I was still overwhelmed by expectations and terrified of what not meeting them would mean about me as a person. This meant I oscillated between paralysis and anxiety, but I didn't call that perfectionism. In my late teens and early 20s, that same pattern just traveled with me. At university, when I broke through the paralysis, I'd get into flow and again do really strong work. Lecturers were happy, my marks were good, and on the outside, it looked like I was doing fine. But inside, I never felt fine. If I believed I was good at something, I could eventually push through the fear and perform at a really high standard. But if I believed I wasn't naturally good at it, or the stakes were very high, I'd go straight back to that cycle of overthinking, avoiding, then rushing at the last minute, and felt ashamed about how long it had taken me to start. Again, I did not call that perfectionism. I just thought, clearly, I'm not disciplined enough. Clearly, I'm not trying hard enough. Fast forward a few years later, I'm now in my early 20s, working in a corporate role, and I'm still oscillating between those two modes, either doing excellent work under a lot of inner pressure, or quietly drowning in overthinking and anxiety behind the scenes, avoiding tasks through productive procrastination. The moment that really exposed what was going on came with a colleague of mine. She was not the most experienced person in the team, nor was she the most technically skilled or competent at all. And yet, she would share work that, in my mind, had obvious gaps and issues and didn't meet a certain standard, yet everyone was perfectly happy with it. It was good enough. And so they moved on. Also, because she just dove straight in and got on with the work quickly, even when it was far from perfect, she ended up giving herself way more opportunities to improve, simply because she was getting more practice by actually moving through the tasks quicker. Meanwhile, I'd be agonizing over my own work, doing whatever it took to deliver something excellent and refine details that no one ended up caring about, all of which took me longer and made me more exhausted. So watching her, something just clicked. It wasn't that she didn't care, it's that her main concern was different to mine. Her main concern was, is this done? My main concern was, is this good enough that I'll still be approved of and worthy of being here? I'm curious to know how this plays out for you. In your world, is your main concern usually, is it done? Or is it good enough that I will still feel good enough? Let me know in the comments which one you tend to think about the most. Because at the end of the day, my colleague and I, we were doing similar jobs, but we were not operating by the same beliefs. This was the first time I started to realize that there was something different about the way I was seeing myself and my work. And this is why most people are perfectionists, but don't know it yet. Because if you're anything like how I used to be, you probably haven't been walking around thinking, yes, this is my perfectionism at work right now. You've probably been thinking things like, I'm anxious, I overthink, I'm just lazy or not disciplined enough, I just care a lot, I always feel like I'm under so much pressure, I'm exhausted. This is because, as a society, we don't actually know what perfectionism is. And when it is defined, it's defined badly and gets reduced to a caricature of a stereotype, some rigid, over-the-top, controlling person who always has a tidy desk and a color-coded life. So if you don't fit that picture, you assume, well, that's not me. Another issue is that perfectionism is also oversimplified and perceived as a monolith, as if there's only one type of perfectionist and they all look and behave the same. When in reality, perfectionism can show up through overworking, burnout, overgiving, avoiding, people-pleasing, or a combination of all of those. And then there's also a great deal of stigma attached to perfectionism as well. When you hear perfectionist, you might think someone who's picky, annoying even, uptight, someone who thinks they're better than everyone else. So of course, naturally, you won't want to or can't identify with that. Almost every client I work with says, oh no, I'm not a perfectionist, right away. Right up until we walk through their patterns, their beliefs, and really dig down further into the true feelings and desires that are driving their behaviors and decisions. So I want to say this really clearly. I'm not trying to convince you to wear the label perfectionist like a name badge. To be honest, that's not what matters most. What I don't want you to do, though, is to reject understanding the patterns that lie beneath it, because those patterns are already influencing how you think about yourself, what you say yes and no to. They influence how you handle mistakes and approach new opportunities in your life, and how safe you feel in relationships and how safe you feel at work. If you reject the label and refuse to look at the patterns, you stay stuck in the same loops without even ever really knowing why. So, if the caricatures and stereotypes around perfectionism are wrong and incomplete, the question is, what then actually is perfectionism? Because once you see what it really is and how it shows up practically in your day-to-day life, you can't unsee it. And it explains why you can look fine on the outside while feeling under constant pressure on the inside. In part 2, I'm going to show you the hidden equation perfectionism runs in the background. The one that quietly links performance to worth and then links worth to safety. And I'll also explain why this is not a personality trait. It's something the world has been training into you. If you don't want to miss part 2, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications because I'm going to be posting that video next. And if you want support beyond a single video, come and join my free private newsletter. It's called Excellence and Ease, and I write a monthly letter to overachievers, perfectionists, and the burned out to help you create, lead, and live with alignment, free from pressure, anxiety, and fear. The link is in the description below. See you in the next one.